Hi everybody, how's it going out there? My name's Joseph Alexander. A few of you have probably seen me do interviews before. I'm a guitarist. I started writing books about guitar 5 years ago, and they started selling on Amazon, and at that time I didn't really know what I was doing. It was all a bit of an accident. I was teaching guitar. I wrote books sort of in my spare time about the stuff I was teaching my students, and these started to sell. The first one started to sell slowly, so again in my spare time I wrote a few more, and I wrote about 8 books on guitar in my first year. And then I don't know what happened, but the sort of avalanche started. I started selling more and more and more. So over the next 2 or 3 years I've now written about 30 books, and a couple of years ago I actually became a publisher, and that's because somebody approached me and they said, well, we can see you're doing well on Amazon. We've got a guitar book. This is a guy called Sam, great guy, and can you help me publish my book? I said, yeah. I'll tell you what, you bring together all the words and all the music notation, and then I will do everything that I can to turn that into a book and get it on Amazon. And that's how it started, and we split the royalties 50-50. Now we've published, I think, about 55, 56 individual titles, and we have got most of those translated into other languages. So I think we've got about 120 to 130 books, and we're selling about 80,000 books a year at the moment. But the thing that I've done that people seem most interested in is the way that I've automated my marketing. Now, the way I've done this is, the main way is to provide a download with my books. Now, before we get into it, I've got a bit of an advantage, and this is where you're going to need to figure out your niche. Because I write books about guitar, and we record all the audio examples. So we put the audio examples on our website, we put a little email sign-up filter in between them, and then we put a link to that landing page in the book. So somebody buys our book, they go, cool, this has got audio downloads. They go to the page, they put in their email address, they tell us which book they've got, and then they get onto our mailing list. Now, that is pretty cool because it's organic. Now, and it works really well, especially in a non-fiction genre, because whatever you're doing, there's probably always like a video that you can make or some integral kind of content that you can give them that's going to enhance their experience with the book, and they're going to be willing to exchange their email address for it. Now, I'll get into the ins and outs of it later, but that's basically the kind of broad overview of what we've done. Now, there's certain things that we've done with it that have got quite clever, but in essence, it's quite a simple idea. So, if you're just starting out, you're probably focused on writing your book, getting it edited, and making it into a tangible product, getting it up there. Now, that's all been talked about to death. I'm not going to be talking about that. But what I am going to be talking about is the next stage, because your book's out there. How are you going to get people to see it? And how are you going to get people to download it? And more importantly, from my perspective, how are you going to get people to join your mailing list? Now, if you've not got a book yet, that's quite difficult when you consider that how we've done it by putting the information to get on the mailing list into our books. But there are ways you can go about it. And the big thing that I'm into is automation. So if you've not got a book and you're trying to get people onto your website to find out more about you, then you're going to really need to do something a bit different. Now, what we do is we use Twitter, and we use that aside from the information in the books that we give to get people to the audio. Now, what we do on Twitter is completely automated, and we use something called Social Oomph and a couple of other little tools, but mainly Social Oomph, to share other people's content and the content that's on our pages. Because my website, we've been doing this for years, and we've got about 250 guitar lessons. So what we do is we've written a little tweet for every guitar lesson. We've loaded it into Social Oomph, and it all goes into this sort of big reservoir. And that reservoir drip feeds onto our Twitter channel constantly. about every 15 to 20 minutes, we'll drop a lesson. But not only that, we will also share lots of other content from other people. Now, again, we can sign up to what's called an RSS feed from other sites. So anything that's Guitar-y, we sign up to. That goes into another reservoir, and that automates through Twitter, again, every half an hour, every hour. And I think at the moment we're tweeting probably about, I don't know, 100 or something times a day with great content that is all relevant to guitar. And obviously you can tailor that for your content. So the important things to look at there would be social oomph, which is a very important part of our automation. Now, of course, once you start building up a Twitter following, then it's fairly easy to every now and again do a tweet that will get people to where you want them to be. What we have is a landing page, and we use a plugin for WordPress on our website called OptimizePress. And all that is a one-page landing page, which grabs people's email address. And the way we get people to give us their email address is by offering like a free series of guitar lessons. So that's like me playing guitar, like playing some blues guitar licks, and they can sign up and get the blues licks. So from that, they go on to our mailing list, and we also know that they're into blues. So that's sort of a broad overview of what we do on Twitter, and you can also do that with paid Facebook advertising, but unless you know what you're doing there, things can get quite expensive. So I'd pretty much advise getting an expert in to help you tweak your Facebook feeds. I mean, I'm not going to go too much into the ins and outs of using social oomph, but the idea there is to have content on your website, content from other people's websites. They get loaded into these bigger reservoirs, and they get drip fed to your Twitter feed, and you'll start to get followers and engagement. For the people that have already got books out there, our big thing is to have the audio downloads on the website, and we direct people there from a link in the book. And we have sort of 40 to 50 books in English, and a lot of books if you include the translations. But if you've only got a few books, then how can you get people to find your books and sign up to your mailing list? The real answer to that for us, for certainly my company, is to use AMS. And we have certain books that we've kind of written that that are important topics for guitar, like beginners books on chords and that kind of thing. We price them very low, despite them being really good content, content that we might normally charge sort of $20 as a paperback for. And we price them very low because we know that once somebody's into our mailing system, they're going to be very valuable to us over the next period of years. They're going to buy more books. So if you can do it, one of the best ways to get people is to write great content. Either make it free or very inexpensive on Amazon, and then run AMS adverts, Amazon Marketing Service adverts to it. Even if you feel that you're running at a little bit of a loss on those things, if you're getting regular signups to your email list, you're actually probably going to be making money in the long run. You're going to be selling more books in the long run. And that's kind of important with this sort of style of thing, that that you've got to take a broader view. Some of this stuff, it can cost a little bit of money to set up. You're going to have to invest in AMS, for example, get the content made, obviously have a good website. But the thing is, now, things like we've got now about 37,000 people on our mailing list, and about 99% of those people have come through from buying my books. So we sell about 80,000 books a year, and a large part of that is because we're able to push and keep our books on the top of Amazon by using the mailing list. So it might just mean a little bit of a frame adjustment for like, okay, I need to put an advert up to sell my book. Because if you do that, you sell the book once. If you put the advert up, drive people to the book, they get on your mailing list, then you have an opportunity to engage with them, make them a friend, make them a customer, and then sell them multiple books. But let's talk about automation, because that's kind of what we do. And who somebody was saying before, I don't have time to do the marketing. Well, this is for you. Because what we do is we automate everything once people are on the email list. Now, don't you remember I said before that when people come from the book to our website, we ask them, what book did you get? It's in the little pull-down menu. If you go to fundamental-changes.com, go and have a look at our audio downloads page. If you want to, you can sign up. You're going to get a load of guitar stuff. You might want to unsubscribe fairly quickly, but it'll be quite a cool way to see exactly how we do this. So you go on there, you tell us which book you got, and you put in your name, and you put in your email. And at that point, you go through and you can get access to your audio. We then, on the back end of that, automatically, people are put into categories. So I know which book you bought. So you could have bought Complete Blues 1, Complete Blues 2, or Fingerstyle Blues Guitar, or Complete Technique, or Heavy Metal Rhythm Guitar. Every customer, every person that's bought a book and signed up for our mailing list, we know exactly what they've got. And from there, everybody gets pretty much the same welcome sequence, which is about 3 or 4 emails. And the first one is me. It's like a video saying, thank you so much for buying my book. So I really mean it. You know, like, I'm helping people learn music. I'm genuinely surprised and flattered that they're trusting me with their education. It's quite a heartfelt video just saying thank you for choosing us. And I tell them that we're going to be sending them guitar lessons and they're going to be relevant. And I tell them in this video how they can stop our emails going to the spam folder, you know, by adding us as a contact. Then about 2 days later, I think they get an email with our best lessons from the website. And again, they're relevant to the genre of music that they bought. And then 2 days later, I get something similar as well. And a couple of days later, I think we ask them for a review. But then sort of the magic happens. We've got about, I think we've got 5 automation chains. So if you signed up for a blues book, you'll be put into the blues automation chain. If you signed up for the rock guitar book, you'll be in the rock automation chain. We've got one for beginners, and we've got one for like theory and technique, that kind of stuff as well. And we've got one for jazz. Now, what happens is once you're in that automation in Active Campaign, you're going to get 3 emails every weekend. And the first 2 are content emails. And it will be like a useful subject, a useful subject line, you know, to get people to tell us what it is. So like guitar lesson, learn chromatic approach notes for jazz guitar. And then it'll be a quick email, like short email with a link to the lesson on the website. So they'll get that, I think, Friday night. And they'll get a different one Saturday night. So they've had 2 guitar lessons. And if they've interacted with those, on Sunday, they will get the little plug, the little advert for our for the book. That has a Genius link, geni.us, definitely worth checking out, because that will send them to the correct geographic geographic location for the Amazon store.com.co.uk, etc. And hopefully they buy the book if they're interested. Now, that sequence of 3 emails, a content, and promotion, that happens every weekend, and it's completely automated. And it's been written. We sort of got a marketing team in, but it's quite pretty simple to do yourself, really. And our blues automation is, I think it's about 30 weeks long at the moment. So for 30 weeks, they're going to be getting books that are relevant to them. And as we add more books, we add a new little 3-week segment to the end of the automation. Now, why is that important? Well, because if you've bought a jazz guitar book, you're probably not going to be interested in our death metal guitar book. So if like sort of normal mailing list where you know people sort of maybe aren't as segmented as you'd like, and it's just okay, here's my list of guitarists that have bought my book, and I send out one shot, even if it's like 40,000 people. Well, how many people are only interested in classical guitar? Or how many people are into like only progressive rock fusion? And we're sending them a book about folk guitar. You're going to get really bad interaction. You're going to get bad conversion rates. You're going to get bad open rates, and all these things add up to, you know, your Google sort of starting to mark your email as spam or going to the promotions folder and that kind of thing. It's really important. This is such a key point that the content that you send out has to be valuable. You know, don't just send out any old nonsense because they're not going to be interested in it. If they've bought a book on, you know, well, playing guitar, and you're sending them guitar lessons, that's great. If they've bought a book on playing guitar and you're sending them information about the new Game of Thrones season, they're probably not going to be interested in that, although they should be. So make sure the content that you're sending in your automation is relevant to their interests, or else you're going to get spammed very, very quickly. Each weekend, we email a lot. People say, oh, you do email a lot, but our sort of philosophy is that, well, if people didn't want to receive our stuff, they're just going to unsubscribe. That's it. Like, we'd prefer to have somebody on our email list who's engaged, who's opening emails, rather than somebody who's like, oh, you send like too many emails, so we're not going to do that. Like, that's our sort of frame. It seems to be working for us, and our unsubscribe rates are quite low, actually. So once they're on there, they get their 3 emails every week: content email, a content email, and then a little promotion for the book that's related to the 2 content. Then they wait a week. Friday starts again. When they signed up, they told us which book they got, and we've got a little rule in there that says if they've bought that book already, don't send them the content and advert for that book again. Here's the real key to it all for us, and this is why it works so well. If you're going to pay attention to one thing in this little presentation, pay attention to this. Amazon will promote what sells. Amazon will promote what sells. Now, people think that when you put your book up on Amazon, then that's it, job done. But actually, if nobody's buying your book, well, why would Amazon show it to anyone? Because they're not making any money from it. The paradigm that you need to have in your head is, right, Amazon's hosting my book. How do I send people to Amazon? So if you think about our automation system, what you've got is that somebody starts on week 1, they go through the welcome series and they hit the automation, and they're getting an advert for a book each week. But the person who starts a week behind them goes into the automation and gets all the same emails, but it gets them a week. That person gets them 1 week later. And the person who starts a week after that gets them 1 week later. So instead of us going, right, 40,000 person mailing list, boom, let's launch a book, we constantly market all of our books to a few hundred people every week. And that's quite an important part, it's a huge part of our business model. Instead of sending 40,000 people all at the same time to one book, we send a few hundred people to 50 books. And as people work their way through that automation, they see a different book that's relevant to their interest every week. Now, if a percentage of those people get to Amazon and they buy the book, of course that pushes the book up the rankings. And actually in a lot of categories, especially for non-fiction, 10, 15 books can be enough to push that to number 1. And in fact, if you go and look at the best-selling guitar books on Kindle for Amazon.com, we've probably got about 15 of the top 20 books at the moment. So we're able to do that because we constantly drip feed Amazon sales. And that paradigm of the books on Amazon should be selling our book, that's what you need to flip on its head. The books on Amazon, yeah, they don't care. They've got millions of books. Why should they show yours? Amazon will promote what's selling. If something's popular, they'll show it to more people. It's kind of like a Google, you know, it's Google search results, isn't it, really? So by you taking responsibility for constantly sending people to your books or your book, yeah, Amazon will grab your book and they will show it to more people. Then when you have when you combine that with AMS strategies as well, you're going to start getting into the self-fulfilling cycle, because you're sending people to your books, Amazon's promoting them, more people are seeing them, and then you get more organic traffic who sign up, and your mailing list gets bigger and bigger, and Amazon keeps sending more people to you because you're helping them make money. Your job, unfortunately, as an author, is to help people, help Amazon make money if you want to sell books. Of course, your job as an author is to write books, but if you don't promote them, then no one's going to do that for you. And you may as well just take your flagship product. You may as well take your Krug champagne and stick it under the shelf in the supermarket so nobody sees it. Nothing's going to sell if people don't see it, and that's why we use automation. So yeah, it was a huge amount of work to get this stuff set up, but once it's there, we do very, very little. I hope it's been helpful for you. I hope it's not been too much to sort of like a bit of a, a bit of a mess coming across. But yeah, keep it simple, keep it relevant, and give people content that they want to receive. All right, thanks very much, guys. Real pleasure being here. It's always very, very flattering to be on. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Bye.